What's up, guys? Austin from Training Tall, back with episode 3 of the Push Pace podcast, a podcast where you and I together, we seek out and try to understand what it means to push ourselves towards a better and happier us. And for today's episode, we're going to be taking a deep dive into this idea of fitness challenges and what might be holding you back from potentially trying out or doing these fitness challenges. And then at the very end, we're going to discuss the upcoming Orange Theory Dry Try. And I'm going to give you guys a rundown of sort of my strategy and my approach to how I think you can best perform come Dry Try day. So let's get right into it. Fitness challenges. What are they? Well, you can think of fitness challenges to encompass a variety of different activities. Essentially, it's anything that's a specific event of some sort of fitness-related thing. This can be something like a 5K, marathon, a Spartan race, a triathlon, or even like the Orange Theory Dry Try. These are all a variety of different challenges for you, variety of different distances and objectives ranging from sort of less challenging to more challenging. But they're an opportunity essentially for you to show yourself what you're made of, I guess. And before we talk about why you should do these fitness challenges, I really, really want today's episode to focus on the why do you not do these fitness challenges? Because they're out in the open to anyone and everyone, and only a select few really sort of take the step up to challenge themselves to whatever these might be. And I want to discuss what might be holding you back from potentially trying these things out. And so breaking down sort of what are the main barriers that keep you away from going about whatever fitness challenge it might be. Again, this could be something like a 5K run. This could be something as big as a Spartan beast race or the Dry Try for Orange Theory or anywhere in between. And one of the barriers I think that really holds a lot of us back is this idea of that we're just not good enough, or this fear of failure. I think a lot of us, when we get into our fitness journeys for the first time or are fairly new to the fitness world, getting yourself from being sedentary and inactive to all of a sudden making fitness a part of your everyday lifestyle is a very, very challenging thing, not just physically, but mentally, psychologically. You really have to sort of, you change your whole lifestyle around incorporating fitness into making yourself a better and happier you. And the overwhelmingness of that happening now coupled with, here's this new fitness challenge, let's go out and run a 10K race, all of a sudden that adds in a new variable of something that's that kind of goes back to like that stress of what it took when you first started out on your fitness journey, and that you've made it this far. All of a sudden, like, if I try this fitness challenge, maybe I won't finish it, maybe I won't be able to do it. And thinking about the psychological effect that could have on your brain and just your morale for continuing your fitness journey, I can see why that would totally deter people away from trying these things out. Might as well just stick to your routine and not really step out of your comfort zone into something that from a glance seems like if you don't do it, that's just going to show that you're not good enough or something. And we'll kind of talk about how to combat the whole you're not good enough thing, because it can be combated and it should be combated. I think another thing is just the idea of doing something new. This doesn't apply to just fitness challenges. This applies to anything in life. We're creatures of habit. We like to do the things that we like to do. And so when something like a fitness challenge is like, a Tough Mudder arises with all these obstacles and, electric dangly wire things, or, all of this, just a very foreign environment, a very foreign space. We're not necessarily, humans aren't necessarily the ones who be like, let's just go do that brand new thing that's different and new that I've never done before. That can be very, very challenging. That's just not what we're necessarily wired to do. And so sort of that fear of doing something new, I think it holds a lot of us back from attempting our fitness challenges. And I think the last barrier really is like the actual physical challenge of doing that. Let's say you sign up for a half marathon or a marathon. That's a big freaking distance, and that is going to be a real physical feat, a real physical challenge. And the pain and discomfort associated with these really, really intense physical challenges, a lot of us just want to shy away from that. And that's totally understandable because pain isn't necessarily something that we all like. So combating these different barriers, I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't realize when it comes to these fitness challenges, and I'm pulling this mainly from the Orange Theory DRI Tri environment and experience. And for those of you that have been hesitant to try something like this because you feel like you're not good enough or that you won't make it to the end or people are going to make fun of you or laugh at you or something, I need you to know that there is more support for you than you think there is. These environments that cultivate, people that are willing to put themselves through these really intense challenges just cultivates the most empowering and positive environment ever, where everyone, regardless of fitness level, regardless of experience, everyone is rooting for you to succeed. And everyone is going to be there for you until the very end. And I think that's something we just might not think about. We think that everyone's just going to be so focused on themselves that they don't care if you finish or not. But in reality, especially in these group focused like studio event efforts, everyone is gunning for you to bring your best and everyone is cheering you on. And it is the most positive, encouraging environment you'll probably ever get a chance to be around. Now, obviously, as these events kind of get bigger and stuff, like I'm talking like, these huge multiple thousands of people, Spartan races, and half marathons and marathons, things like that like contained support within like a certain space, like it is in like the Orange Theory studio for the Dry Try, that's not necessarily there. But you would be so amazed by seeing someone struggle in a Spartan race, carrying their bucket or whatever it might be, a bucket full of rocks to the next destination, or getting themselves over a 6-foot ledge. All of a sudden, you've got this support from someone you've never met before that's there with a big smile and is there to help you through the obstacle. There's something about these fitness events, these fitness challenges that really, really bring people together. And the feelings that you get, whether you're a participant that's struggling or a participant that's helping someone else too, you can't really put those feelings into words of how just full of life these types of things feel. And anyone who has done a variety of these different fitness challenges and such can probably attest to what I'm saying and probably agree with what I'm saying here. And back to this idea of a positive and supportive environment. With that and the fact that you are doing and you will finish this effort, because newsflash or spoiler alert, you're gonna finish what you started because that's just who you are. But they're just extremely self-empowering experiences. Just giving you that self-fulfillment of like, heck yeah, like I just did that. They're a chance for you to prove to you that you can do it. And there's something about proving something to yourself that's just, it just fills you with so much life and puts you on top of the world and really makes you feel like there's nothing anyone can do or any circumstance that can slow you down. And that ties into sort of the physical challenge of it too. Like, whatever you might be doing for this fitness event, it's gonna be freaking hard. You're gonna want to quit, but of course you're not gonna, because you're gonna finish what you started because you've been working so hard. Can we talk about that for a second? You put in so many freaking hours into, let's say it's the Orange Theory studio, or if you're someone who follows me for rowing and you're doing a lot of rowing, or you're running outside a lot for yourself, like you are putting in the miles, you are putting in the work. And I can't tell you the mental tenacity that builds, the fighter mindset, the warrior spirit that you get from all of those classes you take, all of the effort you put forth. You are not going to quit one of these events. You are going to finish through, and however that is, whatever struggles you might go through, you're going to come out the other side. You're going to be like, holy crap, there's probably not going to be much else in like my other spheres of life that are going to be more challenging than that. Like let's say you do a half marathon. I like to think of like when I finished my first half marathon, like how freaking hard that was. And just like, wow, like there's nothing that's going to be harder. Or like a 2,000 meter row, a max effort. Like what am I going to see at work that's going to be harder to deal with than that? Accomplishing these big fitness events, these fitness challenges, it puts the rest of life into perspective and makes you realize that you can handle anything, that you can do anything. And I'm serious, and you need to give yourself the opportunity to do these sorts of things, because they're going to help inspire you to conquer every aspect of your life outside of your fitness. It's just so funny because there's so many things that hold us back. The little excuses that take us away from our workouts take us away from trying these challenges and trying these events. And so I'm just trying to convince you that you're stronger than you think. You really are. And giving yourself an opportunity to try something like this, it's an experience you won't forget. And by doing so, it's going to inspire you to continue forward on your fitness journey. And this ties back to what we've talked about in previous episodes about how important it is to be consistent and be in this thing for the long haul. And these type of experiences allow you the opportunity to be in it for the long haul, because you might sign up for one, you might do it, you might want to try the next step up, or you might just be someone who wants to do a couple 5Ks every year. That's going to inspire you to stay on your training, to keep you on your fitness game. And by keeping consistent, you're making this a lifelong effort, and you're setting yourself up for maximal health, maximal results, and maximum high on life. So that's the whole what and why around fitness challenges. And I hope this can inspire you to sign up for your local 5K, or give the DRI Tri at Orange Theory a try, or whatever it is you might do. You should just give it a try. You really should. Now that we've really discussed the main concept behind fitness challenges and why I think you really should give yourself the opportunity to do them, I want to talk a little bit more in detail about the upcoming Orange Theory DRI Tri. This is a biannual event, so sort of at the kind of the start of the year and towards the end of the year, Orange Theory does the DRI Tri, which is the DRI Triathlon. So I'm mainly saying this for the non-Orange Theory listeners, but also maybe members that don't actually know what it is. It's essentially a 3-part triathlon inside the Orange Theory studio that breaks down into a 2,000 meter row, followed by 300 body weight exercises on the weight floor, and then translating into a 5K run on the treadmills, or about 3.1 miles. Now, what's cool about this event is there's a couple different options, actually. So for those of you who hopefully feel inspired to try a fitness challenge, you might want to go for the full DRI Tri, but there's also options for a relay option where it can be you and 2 others, where one person does the row, one person does the weight floor, one person does the run, or you can even sign up for the sprint version, which is essentially half of each of those efforts. So we're talking a 1,000 meter row, 150 weight floor rep exercises, and then half of a 2.5K. I guess that's half of 5K. 2.5K on the treadmills. And of course, options for our members that are bikers and striders as well, just different distance multipliers to that. So that's the DRI Tri. And essentially, you're trying to do all 3 stations, the row, the lift, and the run, as fast as you can. So let's talk strategy, because I get questions on this all the time. I have quite a few videos on my YouTube channel, Training Tall, discussing the DRI Tri. If you just YouTube search DRI Tri, I'm sure it's one of the first things that pops up, going into details of sort of my approach to this, but I figure since we're here, we can talk about it. And the biggest thing with the DRI Tri and any fitness event, really, where you're trying to finish as fast as possible, you have to really break your mindset away from high-intensity interval training. Because during the Orange Theory classes, or any sort of HIIT class, we're working intervals where we work really, really hard and we take breaks. Really, really hard, take breaks. So this idea of peaks and valleys in our heart rate, in our intensity. And when it comes to maximizing your performance on a fitness challenge, you need to flatline the effort. It needs to be a steady, continuous effort, because from an exercise physiology standpoint, that's the most efficient way for your body to do a maximal effort. So whether that's something like just a 5K on its own, a marathon, a Spartan Beast, putting yourself in a position to be sort of steady, continuously pushing through it, that's the most effective way to do it. And so, for instance, in the DRI Tri, you don't want to burn yourself out on the 2,000 meter row. It always cracks me up a little bit when people are fearing this 2,000 meter row part of the DRI Tri. If you're rowing that 2,000 meter row as a max effort and you're trying to do the rest of the DRI Tri, you really screwed yourself over because you are going to be tanked for that 5K run and for the weight floor exercises. And so with a 2,000 meter row, you have to just steady state that whole thing. Think base pace. Think a base pace 2,000 meter row. And essentially, it's going to be just a time sink. And depending on your body size, depending on your fitness level, there's going to be some differences between who finishes the row first and who doesn't. But the takeaway for the row, you need to finish your row, set the handle down, and without hesitation, hit the weight floor and start right into your reps of the bench tap squats or the push-ups or whatever the order of the exercises is. It seems to keep changing. I don't know the exact order right now. The point is, though, you shouldn't need a big break after your row, and you shouldn't feel tanked after your row. Almost consider your row as a warm-up for the rest of the DRI Tri. And when you look at a 2,000 meter row and the time discrepancies between the fastest and the slowest and what the difference in the seconds makes, depending on the energy level it takes, it's astounding. For instance, as an example, these are arbitrary numbers. Let's say I finish my 2,000 meter row in 6 minutes. If I would have just gone 6 minutes and 20 seconds instead of 6 minutes, I'd have about probably 40% more energy than from going into the 6 minute row. Like that 20-second difference, the effort it took to row 20 seconds faster took so much extra energy, it's not worth it. And that's why my best advice for the row is to go at a base and steady effort. Roll right off of it, right into the weight floor, into your exercises. Trust me on that one. Now, going into the weight floor exercises, there's going to be a variety of different moves, all totaling up to 300 repetitions. You've got your bench tap squats, you've got your burpees, you've got your step-ups, your push-ups, your plank jacks, and I think I'm missing one. But those are the kind of the main exercises, and my best advice for those is to, again, treat them as a steady, continuous effort, knocking out one rep at a time, not as fast as you can. Now, especially for the leg exercises, you shouldn't be trying to torch your legs and go as hard as you possibly can because you don't want your legs to be totally fried for the 5K run. So especially for the leg exercises, just get yourself into a tempo, into a rhythm, something you can sustain where you're breathing and you're getting it done, and eventually it will be done. Now, when you're doing something like an upper body exercise like the push-ups, well, let's keep in mind what muscles we're going to need when we hit that run. We're going to mainly need the energy from our legs. So when you hit the ground for push-ups, well, shoot, you might as well crank out those 20 push-ups as fast as you can because you don't need to worry about fatiguing your chest muscles and needing those for the run. So for the majority of exercises, you want to steady yourself through them, but the upper body focused exercises, you can speed through those a little bit more just because you're not going to be really using your upper body for the treadmill. The same idea when you finish the weight floor is you shouldn't need to huff and puff and sip your water and towel off and like you're dying. As soon as you finish your last rep, which I believe is the burpee, I think that's the last move, or a plank jack, whatever your last rep is on that weight floor, before you even sip your water, you need to dash to the treadmill, dash, and hit the start button, and at least start walking it out. Because then you can at least towel off, maybe take a sip of water if you need it. Hopefully you don't need to chug a bunch of water. Hopefully you're not too dead at that point. But at least the belt is moving and you're already getting distance onto that 5K. So don't waste your time standing around at the weight floor sipping water when you finish or standing on the treadmill. Hit that start button and get that distance counting up. Now, the 5K, it's the last part of the DRI Tri. It's also the most time intensive for the majority of us. That's the part that's going to take the majority of the amount of time. And that is why we have so steadily paced ourselves through the 2,000 meter row and through the weight floor exercises. It's because we want to hit that 5K run knowing that that's going to be the main effort, the big sort of finale, but also the main event of the DRI Tri. And so when going about the 5K, the same concept applies as far as kind of keeping yourself steady. That's the most efficient way to do it. But a lot of us, we have to really sort of take time to understand who we are mentally and how we approach our own, like, if you can handle holding one pace or around one pace for 20 plus minutes straight without that being too mentally fatiguing. Some people are very mentally strong and are able to just hold it steady without like feeling bored or overwhelmed. Not bored, but overwhelmed and freaking out. Some of us need to build things up over the course of the effort. And if that's the case, maybe you want to break it down every quarter mile. You're adding a 0.1, 0.2, or 0.3 to your speed and building your way up that way. That way it's kind of keeping you engaged throughout the effort, keeping you refocused and challenged as you go along. Some people might need that. And if you need that, if that's going to help you stay focused and stay calm, because you need to stay calm the whole time because you're going to be breathing hard. You got to stay calm, relax your face. Then do that if you need to. Or if you're someone who maybe needs to work some interval shifts. We're talking kind of like maybe a mile per hour difference every half mile or so, giving yourself, or whether you're doing it for time, maybe a minute at like a push effort, minute at a base effort. Maybe you're someone who wants to switch those intervals back and forth. That's not the most efficient way to do it. But if that keeps you engaged and keeps you focused and keeps you calm, then more power to you, really. Now, as far as holding a continuous effort, which is still something that I recommend, maybe building up a little bit as you go along, because it takes some time to feel it out based off of a variety of factors. But I would say a good effort to challenge yourself to is maybe just a little bit above your base pace to start. Just start maybe half mile per hour over your base and go from there. Depending on the type of way that you train, some people train with their base being a lot lower than their pushes and their all-outs. For instance, some people might have a base of, let's say, 6, but they push at 8, 9, 10. So 2+ miles per hour over base pace. Some people choose to train that way. Some people keep a much tighter difference between their base and their pushes. And so depending on how tight you keep that difference, you're going to have to sort of play out the effort. So if you have a bigger discrepancy between your pushes and your bases, you might want to add a little bit more to your base than if you're someone who has a tight discrepancy between push and base, like let's say maybe a mile per hour difference or 1.5 miles per hour. You might want to just stick with just a tiny bit over your base pace. And then just holding that effort from start to finish. And as you get closer and closer, you got to give yourself some mental check-ins. Quarter of the way through, halfway through, last quarter, and then last 0.1. Check in with yourself, check in with how you're feeling. Don't worry about your heart rate, by the way. You're going to be red zone max heart rate pretty much the whole time. That's sort of just like the hype of like what happens during a fitness challenge is you're just excited and anxious and a little nervous. But that's because you care, and that's a good thing, I promise. So get all your poop out of your system beforehand. And as far as like eating before the event too, I try to just play it safe and not eat within 2 hours of the event, just because you don't want any food digesting or sloshing around inside of you. I'm a huge advocate for a whole food plant-based diet, and I find that oatmeal before a big race is amazing. There's an old saying in rowing called oats move boats, and oatmeal with some cinnamon and maybe banana cut up in there, maybe some walnuts. That would be a great example of a breakfast to have before your dry try or before your event. But you got to find what works for you. I will tell you right now, protein before your event is not going to help you. That is not energy your body uses during the event itself. So if you're just eating a bunch of eggs and sausage before the race, I'm sorry, you're probably going to feel that. You're going to feel the heaviness of that during your 5K run. So give yourself some complex carbohydrates and some fruit to really give you that energy boost you need right before the big event. And as you have those mental checkpoints during the last bit of the run, make sure you hit that last 0.1 and you really give yourself a max effort. You're going to have everyone cheering behind you, those that had finished already and the coaches and whatnot. So you're going to be inspired to really push it. just dig through the wall. Understand it's going to be the toughest thing ever in your life. It's going to be the toughest thing ever. And all you're going to want to do is not go faster. But I promise you've got more in you for that last 0.1. So blast through that finish line with all you've got. So moral of the story, dry try. It's a steady effort from start to finish. Don't freak out over the row. Keep things continuous, breathing steadily, relaxed, and hit that 5K run with aggression but calmness, and pacing yourself throughout as you need to, whether you're holding steady, working intervals, or building yourself up throughout the distance. That is my advice to you. And I'm telling you right now, every single one of you out there listening is capable and is going to crush this dry try. If you think you can't, I promise you right now, you can. So give yourself that opportunity. Show you that you can do it. Prove it to yourself because you're a lot stronger than you think. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the podcast today. Kind of a long episode, but I think a lot of good topics we discussed. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please, please, please share the podcast if you'd like to, and leave a review, an honest review, please, whether you will give it 1 star or 3 or 5. And I want whatever feedback you've got for me. I want to make this a truly rich and empowering experience for you. So please let me know what you guys want to hear from next and what I can do to improve for you. So thank you so much for tuning in. Keep pushing forward, and I will see you guys in the next episode.